On MASH, Gary Burghoff played Radar O'Reilly, the dependable calm glue keeping the 477th in turmoil together. He was heartfelt on film. Off-screen, it was different. That story. Boff fought with various castmates, but they didn't last up fade. They piled up. A dispute over time became so acrimonious that a fellow actor he stated he despised working with him. This castmate was who? And what? Boff did what to push things that far. Join us as we discuss all the details. Gary Burghoff as Radar O'Reilly. Gary Burghoff played more than Radar O'Reilly. He embodied him. In show sarcasm, tiredness, and moral fatigue shaped Radar, who stood in the middle. A steady heart. While surgeons joked to survive and commanders improvised authority, Radar maintained order. Moving. Radar was meticulously built into one of the most emotionally charged MASH characters. Radar O'Reilly predates television. Viewers met him. The MASH novels introduced him. In the 1970 picture and then starred in the TV series. Only 2 actors went from cinema to television in the same role, including Burghoff, carrying Radar across formats while most of the actors changed. Radar was first positioned as vital but underrated. Not the loudest or bravest in fight, but necessary. The novels portray Radar as a child. Early loss influenced Otama, Iowa. Father, elderly when Radar was born. Death occurred when Radar was little. Once, Radar remembered his father had a stroke playing peekaboo, a painful memory. Oddly gentle. Then only Radar and his mother, Edna, held the collective family farm. Uncle Ed filled the father role. Emotional gaps until his death years later. That losing streak quietly defined Radar. His emotional growth was rapid, but he remained boyish every other manner. The show never confirmed Radar's siblings. He sometimes mentioned a younger sister, a younger brother who died young, and later even older siblings, but the emotional core remained. Radar acted like an only child, feeling lonely, attached, wanting to please, and afraid of disappointed family-like authorities. Radar's moniker wasn't a joke. Within the It was almost taken seriously in the show. He seems to foresee events. He appeared alongside commanding commanders before his summons. He ended phrases. He heard helicopters preceded the army. Radar tested Marines and was denied entry due to spectacles. A small rejection. Budit mattered. Interested in the signal corps, he joined the army. Envisioning something technological structured. He landed 4077th, Chaos. In the novels, he volunteered after high school. On TV, he claimed drafting. Whatever, the point was made. Young Radar, too young. Arriving at 18, he was 19 by season 2 and carried a teddy bear from home, like a subtle confession that he wasn't ready for what he'd been handed. Teddy became one of the show's most powerful emblems. Played Radar used it for chuckles and emotional protection. He slept with it, had offended it. He said his brother owned it. The joke was effective because underlying truth stung. Radar was a child traumatized by adults. The bear kept him alive. In film, Radar was sharper, more worldly, a clerk with passes and schemes in his pocket, ready to work the system. He became sweeter from TV, more naive but competent. If anything, TV Radar excelled at this job. Father Mullah said Radar started poorly. Corporate clerk. He overquestioned, slowed, and drove. Insane folks. After Colonel Blake mentored him, something clicked. Radar learned fast. He learned to get stuff no one else could. Learn balance Blake's silliness with expertise. Radar's heart is there, his relationships lived. Blake wasn't just his CO, a substitute father. Though without Blake, Radar suffered the most. Radar entered the operating room to announce Henry Blake's jet was shot down. The show breached a line it never passed again. From getting used to Colonel Potter took time. Radar said it happened suddenly. Being with an aunt instead of dad. Different rules, kindness, but Radar grew closer to Potter. Admired him, protected, and irritated him. Like when Radar bought a mail order writing course fraud and put flowery wording on his reports, driving Potter mad. Radar intended good. He always did. Radar's hunger was legendary. He enjoyed mess hall food. While everyone groused. Drunk knee-high grape soda like gold. Despite feeling sick, smoked smokes with others. Wanted to belong. Wanted an even when it hurt. Animals were another outlet. Hamsters, guinea pigs, rabbits. He could protect live creatures in a death-filled place. For Radar rescued Sophie, a horse that epitomized everything Radar, for Potter's anniversary, valued. Stability, commitment, care. Radar always struggled with romance. He was painfully innocent, virgin, sincere. His early fiancée broke his heart. All subsequent attempts to interact with nurses ended awkwardly or poorly. Sometimes they weren't interested. Radar sometimes overdid it. Sometimes he didn't know, still learning manhood. Behind the scenes, Boff's dedication. Radar cost money. The first 3 episodes featured him. Seasons, but work stressed his family. Season 5, he negotiate less episodes. Radar went R&R more. By season 7, Burghoff knew he was exhausted. By season 8, he left .477th and never looked back. When Radar left, in October 1979, Gary Burghoff held a teddy bear that had become famous on MASH, almost as familiar as his face, told the producers he was done. He requested no more money. He didn't promote better scripts. He wasn't threatened to leave unless things change. He left because playing Radar O'Reilly, his signature role, was silently draining him. The choice seemed ridiculous from the outside. Not only was MASH successful, was dominant. 30 to 40 million viewers tuned in weekly. Families planned evenings surrounding it. Radar O'Reilly was more than a character. He soothed, Warzone innocent heartbeat. Kid with teddy bear grape soda, who kept the 477th running while everyone else collapsed. Actors dreamed about Boff's career security, but he left years before the show ended. The network didn't grasp it. Members of his cast worried. Fans would be crushed. Boff remained firm. He has paid for overstaying. To know why he departed, must comprehend how he became Radar. Gary Burghoff was born in Bristol, 1943. Connecticut into a musical, artistic family. Or bodily control. That mattered since Burghoff was born with brachydactyly, a congenital abnormality that left his left hand with 3 fingers unusually short. Mid-century America had that kind of difference didn't intrigue. It encouraged harshness. He learned early to disintegrate himself, hid his hand, and learned to tilt his body. Images, learned to let others say first, and most importantly, learned to thrive in other areas so well that his difference was invisible. He succeeded. Percussionist, a talented nature painter, precise and creative spaces feeling trumped symmetry. He tried out for 1970 MASH. He didn't anticipate much from movies. Radar was only a supporting part on paper. Clerk, a peculiar child with near psychic abilities who could predict his commander's needs. Burghoff didn't joke about him. He portrayed him as someone who learned early on that being useful protected you. If you predicted needs, people could keep you. Robert Altman quickly found him and cast him. The film detonated. It won the Cannes Palme d'Or, a cultural lightning bolt. When CBS adapted it for television in 1972, majority of the film's cast left. Burghoff didn't. He thought Radar was incomplete, that a 2-hour film couldn't capture its depth. He became the only actor to reprise his movie role in the series. A rarity. Initially, the show was funny. Radar was the farm boy. Iowa, teddy bear, knee-high grape drink, superhuman hearing. It was easy to chuckle. The show altered gradually. It teethed. War became the focus instead of a backdrop. The Radar altered. It. Boff played the persona to quietly absorb trauma. Teddy stopped being a life-saving prop. Radar's simplicity made him not childish. He was childlike because it was his only way to survive what he saw daily. Boff didn't announce this change. He allowed it permeates. He got an Emmy, public and industry approbation in 1977. And deeper trap. Because Gary Boff was no longer visible, they always saw Radar. Fans expected innocence, gentleness, tender thanks. They didn't know Boff wasn't any of those. Natural things. He was quiet, introverted, and dedicated. Emotional honesty. He might be unpleasant on set, not for ego, but because he cared too much to lie. Playing someone so different 8 months a year, year after year, felt like a racer. His later description was living in someone else's skin till you forget your own. Meanwhile, his personal cracking life. Failure plagued his marriage. Fame kept him from his daughter. Even off-duty, passers-by called him Radar. Still desired that boy in him. The character self-divide was gone. Burghoff felt himself vanishing inside. The breaking point was season 7. The producers wanted Radar to become cynical and lose his innocence. Protracted war exposure. Boff battled it hard. Head-hot Radar's whole goal was to prove kindness could endure harshness, that tenderness wasn't weakness, that not everyone needed hurt to be believable. Though he prevailed, That fight tired him. He got it. He wasn't just no more character defense. He defended himself. So he said in 1979 he left producers. Everything was tried. More cash, fewer episodes, creative control. Nothing mattered. When asked why, he replied that shocked them. He wanted to remember Gary before Radar erased him. It was goodbye Radar. Over 40 million viewers watched the show. CBS received letters quickly. Burghoff remained steadfast. Leaving MASH at its peak ruined his acting career. Casting directors couldn't see past Radar. The few roles as Landing echoed innocence. Walter, his brief series, barely made an impact. Ripple. Burghoff declined as other cast members rose to new heights. Completely from Hollywood. Many thought he failed. What they overlooked was Burghoff's different concept of success. He moved back to Connecticut, remarried, painted animals, drummed, and spent time with his kids, purposefully lived quietly away from the spotlight that nearly swallowed him. His response about whether he regretted leaving MASH years later was answer never changed. He wasn't sorry he survived. There's something subtle radicalism. Gary works in a visibility-obsessed. Burghoff voluntarily vanished. An atmosphere that rewards endurance he left at all costs. Indeed, he fulfilled Radar O'Reilly's core reality that kindness in a cruel world is courage. And leave is sometimes the bravest thing. Burghoff and Alan Alda, what happened? Even though Radar seems adorable on TV, behind the scenes, things were more tricky. On MASH, Alan Alda and Gary Burghoff were never close. Together, they worked. They valued the work, but conflict lurked beneath the professionalism. Not loud enough, never quiet enough to disappear. Burghoff was intense. Hadn't coast through scenes or assume everything would work. He valued every moment. Timing, emotional weight, delivery. If a line reading felt off, he said so. If he noted the rhythm was off. If blocking felt dishonest, he questioned it. He often did this unasked. What started as slowly, dedication felt like invasion to others. That propensity got difficult to ignore as the show and Alda's role changed. Early on, Alda was just another cast member. But as MASH grew, he led its creativity. Not just Hawkeye. Anymore. He wrote and directed episodes, shaping the show. Voice and strategy. That move created an unstated expectation. Collaboration was important, but authority was now defined. Burghoff didn't always accept it. For him, emotional truth surpassed hierarchy. It didn't matter who directed or had final say if something felt wrong. He stayed up anyway. As Alda saw it, those interruptions felt like being questioned his own set. From Burghoff's perspective, silence felt dishonest. The men weren't trying to undermine each other, just functioning on distinct work expectations. Long-term, that mismatch made distance. No yelling matches or public outbursts. Sluggish cooling. Scenes played. Work finished. But ease never returned. By 1979, when Burghoff left the series, relationship wasn't antagonistic, but nor warm. No emotional link remained. What people said thereafter is revealing. Alda was cautious. Diplomatic. He never criticized Burghoff or fanned the story. He recognized problem without drama. Others were significantly less. A restrained contrast speaks a lot. Mike Farrell joined after seeing the dynamic. Told Berg something straightforward that he could dish down, that he accepted criticism but battled with it. Not portrayed as cruel. Was framed as truth, and it resonated because it expressed what many on the set felt but hadn't voiced. Burghoff wasn't evil. He didn't want to rule the room, but his intensity requested room, patience, and emotional endurance from others. A short-term initiative like that energy can improve work. On a decade-plus series, it silently strained relationships. Written like glue, Radar O'Reilly held 477th together. Gary Burghoff behind scenes was far more complex, dedicated, and uncompromising, out of sync with a system that demanded enthusiasm and adaptability. While tension with those subtle, Alda's tension with Wayne Rogers was not. Burghoff and Wayne Rogers. What happened? Rogers and Burghoff started out opposites. Burghoff was stiff, Rogers relaxed. He trusted instinct, rhythm, scene's natural flow. He enjoyed flow. He liked giving. Take. Burghoff treated the show like war. The timing was crucial. Be precise. The continuity had to match. Blocking must make sense at the slightest motion. Nothing casual. Nothing remained. And Burghoff shared his standards again. He corrected others. Performers complimented on performances, entered sessions without notes when requested. It was sometimes done to safeguard the show. Sometimes it was controlling and obtrusive. Intent didn't always matter. It affected. That pressure didn't suit Rogers. Rogers became irritated by seasons 2 and 3 for reasons that nothing to do with Burghoff. Trapper John was fading. Scripts leaned strongly toward Hawkeye. All the focus scenes. Trapper changed out required for reactivity. Show ensemble balance was eroding. So Rogers was less screen time, less creativity, and a rising awareness that his role shrank in real time. Burghoff entered that tension, elevating him. This made things flammable. Per numerous cast histories and Rogers hated behind-the-scenes tales, including the whole MASH book and later biographies, Burghoff's conduct. He believed Boff had assumed set power, despite not leading or controlling production. Watt Rogers felt sidelined, making what was tolerable intolerable. The recurring incident has become part of the show's darker legend. A 1983 Alda biography by Raymond Straight said Burghoff preferred to play rather than take orders to radar as he saw fit. Straight said that attitude caused screaming with Mlan Stevenson and an extremely unpleasant Rogers experience. Straight says Rogers became soup-set during rehearsals. He tossed a chair at Boff. Takeaway is consistent despite details. Rogers snapped that refused to interact with Boff. Straight noticed that Alda later joking that crew members bring Mr. Rogers' chair eased script conversations. Rogers let Burghoff know he was annoyed, unlike others. Once resentment set in, relationship never recovered. No continual fighting characterized this feud. Shouting. The temperature was lower. Distance, retreat, refusal engage. The explanation usually ended after Rogers left after season 3. Contractual, creative imbalance. So far, that explanation is correct. Goes, but is incomplete. Personality counted. Rogers wasn't feeling respected, and Boff was involved, intentionally or not. After Rogers left, Burghoff remains, but his reputation follows. Other actors voiced similar issues. Over time, Boff confessed he was difficult to work with and apologized to one castmate. Meanwhile, Rogers never looked back. He rarely praised his MASH years and avoided reunions with nostalgia. After departing, his career shifted. He starred opposite Lynn Redgrave in House Calls and I Dream of Jeannie. 15 years later, taking up Larry Hagman's role. But acting progressively becomes secondary. Rogers excelled in finance. He ran his own investment firm, appeared frequently on Fox Business News, presented his own show, created a control-focused second career independence, clarity. People ask if Wayne Rogers leaving MASH was a mistake. Answer is straightforward. It wasn't. He acted instinctively. He fled a situation no longer his employee. It eventually paid off professionally, monetarily, and personally. He greatly disliked Gary Burghoff. Finally, we know why. MASH is easy to fall for. Illusion. Laughter flows easily. Connections are real. Blake, Colonel Radar moves like family. It appears to be one of those unusual setups where everyone must have gone home happy. But the visuals never quite matched reality. MASH under persistent pressure behind the scenes. Show exploded faster than anticipated. Ratings rose. Fame came early. And with stress, ego, weariness, and friction followed. Members of the cast eyed opportunities outside the ensemble. Series creator Larry Galbart eventually left after season 4. The earliest and most dramatic exit belonging to Colonel Henry Blake, actor Mlan Stevenson. His public persona failure to match Alan Alda's Hawkeye Pierce prompted his departure. That was true. Blake commanded. However, Hawkeye expanded his dominance. Emotional heart of show. More, Stevenson wanted. More prominence, greater recognition, control. Something else simmered. Underneath. Later interviews revealed that Stevenson got along with the cast, however was one exception, his closest collaborator with Gary Burghoff in most scenes. Stevenson described them love-hate relationship. He recognized Boff's talent. In fact, Hare guarded him as superb and suggested Burghoff was their best actor. But the issue wasn't talent. Friction was. Stevenson said heads hit. That Boff was occasionally the issue. Ego contributed. Pressure intensified everything. Two strong personalities paired continually together in a never-ending high-stakes production. And Stevenson had company. Years passed, stories piled up. Stories that painted Burghoff was fierce, domineering, and hard to deal with. The 1983 biography Alda by Raymond Straight recounted a set when tempers flared behind the camera. Straight claims Burghoff and Stevenson had a full-blown fight, shouting match. Another incident escalated. Wayne Rogers, already dissatisfied with his dwindling role as Trapper John, allegedly annoyed Burghoff during he tossed a chair at him during rehearsals. If every detail is almost perfecto as a matter, pattern does. Burghoff was demanding. He didn't float through scenes. He corrected people, critiqued performances, participated in blocking and timing. It sometimes came from a true desire to safeguard the show. It sometimes seemed obtrusive and draining. That may devalue actors already marginalized. Behavior stung. Complicating matters is that none of this appears on screen. Colonel Blake and Radar feel inseparable. Compassionate, faithful, almost father-son. Whatever irked him, scenes did not interrupt performances. Warmth feels even greater. Genuine later, knowing it hid strain. Some residues may be subtle. Slid through. Radar is generally considered the camp's annoying younger brother. Loved but rejected. Trusted, rarely taken seriously. He's joke but everyone talks about over. A similar dynamic may have been felt by Boff. Despite being the only actor to link the 1970 Robert Altman picture to the TV series, Radar rarely appeared. Commanded the same respect behind the scenes as later writers and directors. Boff authored a Radar episode that never aired. As Alda Burghoff remained boxed in while others acquired creative authority. Important but powerless. Obvious but unappreciated. When Boff left show himself in Season 7, the pattern was evident. Burnout, family tension, a rising sense of unappreciation, and a long-lasting reputation after he left. Burghoff eventually admitted he was tough to work with. His apology at least one castmate later. But self-awareness came later, settled damage. Who actually despised Gary Burghoff is difficult. More than one man. It contained frustrations, egos, demands, and egos colliding in a too-big show fast. Lance Stevenson felt it most. Rogers sensed it. Explosively. Others took it in silently, but together they made something lasting. The irony is obvious. A show about unlikely camaraderie was established strained similarly. And sometimes the strongest on-screen connections erebused on the most intricate foundations. After leaving MASH, Gary Boff did what? Gary Burghoff remained active after MASH. He remained visible, but not as people expected. His simplest door was television, so he kept it open for a time. Walked it often. He appeared on Match Game, Show-Offs, Hollywood Squares, Liars Club, and Tattletales. These weren't prominent roles or long-term commitments. Low-pressure appearances regulated situations where he could arrive, work, and depart without character consumption again. His acting roles included several movie BS I Love You, Single Love Boat, and Ellery episodes Queen. In small sections, he appeared without disappearing into someone else's flesh for years. However, Radar wasn't finished yet. Burghoff returns for 2 quieter episodes in Aftermash's first season. Continuance of known characters into civilian life. That appearance led to Walter, editor-only project to acclimate to home life. It aired once in Eastern and Central time zones before disappearing. No reruns, no chances. Almost symbolic in its limited existence. Burghoff was definitely changing his identity in the 1980s. He became TV. He represented BP Gasoline and IBM Computers. Late 2000, he returned as Priceerror.com spokesperson throughout the boom. These lacked passion projects. Practical, firm boundaries, no emotional leakage. Boff truly embraced his pre-Radar self away from cameras. He self-taught wildlife painter who specialized in precise animal portraiture. Quite seriously, he was certified to treat injured wildlife in California, handling animals instead of painting them. Quiet work, focused work, work without public recognition to deliver sweetness on demand. Music was another constant. Boff was a professional jazz drummer leading the We3. His inventive side was present too. Burghoff had many U.S. patents. Chum Magic, a fish-attracting device, towards a boat. A toilet seat lifting handle was also patented. Produced a new fishing pole. He was a serious philatelist. In 1993, he was asked to choose a USPS Hunter stamp. He briefly left in 2010. Back in the spotlight for independent film Daniel's Lot. It not a return. No attempt was made to recover significance. It felt more like closure, one last appearance on his terms. Personal life followed a comparable intensity cycle and reset. Janet Gale married Boff in 1971, but they divorced in 1979, the year he left, after having one daughter from MASH. He married Elizabeth Boston Ram, 1985. They had two boys before 2005 divorce. Boff withdrew afterward, discussing his personal life publicly. Radar O'Reilly showed audiences that tenderness could last. Chaos. Gary Burghoff proved something quieter his whole life. That breaking with your reputation can be self-preservation. Who was your favorite MASH character? Share in the comments. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Click the next video on your screen. You'll like.